Live from Florida, welcome race fans, one and all, back to Green Flag TV, where this afternoon we are getting set to do battle once again here for Wednesday night action with the Beer League. It's the Sebring International Raceway and the modified layout for round number 5. My name is Rempel alongside Acinni. We're bringing you all of racing action from start to finish here on this fantastic Wednesday afternoon. Fen, it's Sebring. It's a track that hasn't seen its starts just yet so far throughout the Beer League, but today, for the first time, they go racing around the facility, but it's a bit of a shorter layout than what we're usually used to.
It certainly is versus what we usually see in that 12-hour endurance we love to see on iRacing every year. And I think it's almost one of a more fun layout because it takes all the best parts of Sebring and kind of condenses it down into like a nice quick lap package that I think will work really well with these 34 coupes.
It's going to be an absolutely fantastic drive throughout the course of the afternoon. Let's take a rundown of what brings us over to this race. It was a one-week break, but boy, oh boy, did things kick off in force just 2 weeks ago at the Portland International Raceway with this wild finish on the final lap. It was a huge fight between Alex Crawford and Moore as Alexander Bueller tried to run down the leaders. Henry Morse trying to make a run as well. Ended up putting the bumper to Bueller, entering the final series of corners. That sent two of them into the wall. Bueller was able to recover, gets back onto the racetrack, but of course got caught with that slowdown penalty, and that handed the win right back to Alex Crawford on a silver platter. Fen, one of the wildest finishes we've seen so far today, and not looking to be any different this afternoon as we'll look to the championship standings.
Definitely not a fantastic finish for them, a bit of an unpredictable one, but we dive into first the Drivers' Championship and the 10 drivers up top here, starting with Henry Morse.
in the fray as well. So plenty of drivers with the ability to try and make some good solid runs this afternoon. And the team's championship still looking nice and close as well.
That it is. I'm curious to see if Austin Tucker is able to get his way back up the order, dropped 5 positions from the top of the leaderboard. As we hop over to the team championship, Formula Legends at the top still, but plenty of room for all these drivers in these teams to work their team championships back up the order. As a couple of them change positions for 2nd and 5th.
Legendary, of course, taking over the number 2 spot ahead of Legends Never Die. Of course, Cryptid Weather Project also jumping Hail Santa. Well, the Misfits making a comeback as well, as they'll get around the Legends of the Hidden Temple team as well. Kind of showing not a lot of representation so far from the Legends of the Hidden Temple as the Misfits. Drivers that are technically running part-time and that are not really around to run for the full duration of the season. All of that will take us straight through to race action here this afternoon. Well, it's going to be a good ride, I think, for most drivers here today, as this this not older, but this kind of fresh layout of Sebring, definitely one to keep eyes out for. Let's ride on board here with Alexander Bueller, who will take us for a trip around the modified version Sebring Raceway, and we'll go through the differences.
We absolutely will. We'll start out with the very familiar start-finish stretch, going into that winding left-hander that starts out turn 1. And then I think the changes start from there with a lovely double apex in 2 of 3.
A lovely double apex here into turn number 1 as well. Very wide, sweeping corner that you got to try to work your way through, but then back around for turns 2 and 3. Hard on the brakes. This is where the big change comes in. Cutting across a good 2/3 of the racetrack. Just set ourselves up. That was right through Gambadian and Bishop, and now setting ourselves up towards the Ullman Straight to close out the lap, as you see Bueller working his way past a few cars that were a little bit out and off the road. And now through turn number 7 onto the Ullman Straight, the longest straight in the racetrack, and into the best passes as well, because we're not taking the usual sunset bend.
We are not. It is a extended sunset bend with a little bit of a longer straight, but then a harder corner, making for another great, excellent passing zone as they get back onto the brakes a little bit harder. You're not really coasting through the corner here. You see where he gets on the brakes there. The car shifting forward as he goes for essentially a nice open hairpin, followed by a little bit of a kink where it picks back up on the regular sunset bend, as we see usually in the longer international circuit.
So that will be a lap then around the Sebring International Raceway's modified configuration, as several drivers are still very much in the running order to try and put themselves up with some good lap times here this afternoon. Right now, Chris Flams with the fastest lap of the session, a 1:19.837. One car has just slapped the wall coming out of the final corner. And we work ourselves back in to turn number 1. Here comes Jeremy Castro, one of several drivers trying to make his way across the line. Castro really get on the boards, he does, but it's only good enough for 23rd for him. So Castro looking for more this afternoon so far.
Absolutely. With these drivers, though, mere tenths and hundredths of seconds going between your basically top 15, 16 drivers. Finally getting down to a little bit over 2/10 between Justin Brissy and Evan Campbell. Very tight field. It's not a very long lap. Minute in 19 is our fastest one, 19.84 to 19.87 of Austin Tucker. So with those, it's going to be a very competitive set of laps there for everyone to find that last little bit of pace and get themselves on the top of the sorting pile.
Field continued to battle itself around, and we have lost time in the story for just a brief moment. We're working to get that back as quick as we possibly can.
Jake Kasich going to the top of the order while we're working on those timing tower pieces with a 1:19.74, about a tenth of a second faster than Chris Flam's fastest lap that he's set so far. A few more drivers still have yet to put in times. Tyler Agostino, Henry Morris, Giovanni Romano, Tyler Carlton, and Ringo Harrison as well, as they keep working their way around all these drivers, trying to set in faster times. Ooh, a big off there.
Hello.
from the number 24.
Into the final corner as well for Ringo Harrison. He catches the wall coming out of the final couple of corners, so no dice for him. Same with Tyler Carlton currently off the road. Alexander Klenk right now in the middle of this fight as well, trying to see if he's got the potential to get any kind of an in. Right now, no quick time on the board for him. He is one of the drivers that has not been able to fire in a qualifying lap. It is a bit of a light field tonight. Under 40 cars and a bit deep there.
Yeah, late on the brakes there, but he keeps it in. The number 11 spinning out right beside him into the barrier for them. But the number 13, Alexander Klenk, keeps it composed, recovering nicely from that deep braking into the sunset bend. He goes around the start-finish time and does not set a time. Still working his way around.
Meanwhile, Austin Tucker, new fastest time of the afternoon, a 1:19.618. As drivers get set to continue to close things out this afternoon. It's going to look to be a pretty wild qualifying session as far as things go. We've got other drivers like Justin Brissy that are also in the fray and trying to do whatever they can do to get something working for them. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure if this is accurate or not. Alexander Buehler, or at least according to my timing software, showing that he is on wet weather tires right now. Now, again, I don't know if that's accurate, considering he's sitting in fifth. I don't believe it's accurate, but if it is, then that is quite the impressive time for him.
If that is correct, that is a very impressive time. I'm also seeing wet weather tires being listed as his tire choice. I'm trying to see if I can see a nice shot of his tires. They do look more treaded than some of the competitors, but
that'd be a flex in the field, getting a top 5 on a wet weather compound.
It has been his fastest lap the most recent time by, but he did just get an off track, so we'll see whether or not that stays.
So the pack continuing to circle around. We are halfway through this session, and Justin Brissy not able to get any kind of improvement on his lap time. Meanwhile, Alex King coming across the line to start his next flyer as Dupuis catches the wall. And there is Jake Kasich chasing that 1:19.6. He currently stands on a 1:19.7, over a 10th off the pace, and he's had to board a lap with a crash in front of him.
A tough break for that number 11, as he's still working his way around, trying to set a better time. Has a couple more minutes, about 9 of them left to set in a faster lap time. Good handful of drivers still working their way around. Eric Ronenberg, one of them in that 017 cow printed liveried machine.
You see the field really doing a good job on trying to sort this out here. Eric Ronenberg, bit of a flyer all by himself as well. So he'll jump hard onto the binders into the hairpin. Can we call that the sunset hairpin? It's not really the sunset bend, is it?
It is not. I think the sunset hairpin works really well.
There we go. We'll call it sunset hairpin for today.
for this one, because it is very much like this nice open hairpin. It's with how hard they get on the brakes as well. As Eric Ronenberg jumps up to 3rd, I believe that is.
Eric Ronenberg in 4th for the time being. The 1:19.868 did not improve on that last attempt either. Max Verstappen, one of his best qualifying efforts so far. Just starting a flying lap with the number 5. Right now sitting 0.6 off of pole sitter Austin Tucker.
6 tenths only separating these two drivers, or the 6 tenths separating the top 10 drivers, let's put it that way. And then, only another 6 tenths to the top 20 or so. So very competitive field as Mac finds his way around, not the way he's supposed to. Looks to rejoin. Gonna be a lap, recovery lap for him, and then he'll probably give it another go next time by.
Yeah, Max Verstappen trying to just kind of take things as they come, I reckon, and we'll continue to see if maybe he's got the potential to make some of those motions further on in the event tonight, but long way to go still before we get to proper racing action. Let's check in on Justin Hall. Justin Hall a little bit further down the field. Right now running the 121 all the way down to the 19th place spot. He's got 30 seconds if he wants to improve on his lap time here. It might be close for him. 7 minutes to go.
Trying to find that last about 2 seconds of pace to get him up onto the top of the pile.
Oh, well, that won't do that trick right there. Getting a bit sideways out of the sunset hairpin.
Yep. Did not get the power down before, or maybe got down too early and then scrolled out from under him as a result. He's going to definitely lose time there.
Only 4/10 though, or less than 4/10. I feel like he may have been able to improve if he hadn't had that slide.
I absolutely would have to agree. The rest of the lap looked pretty solid for him, and if he had definitely had the pace there. I'm sure he'll be raring to go again into this lap, so we'll see if this carries him through to a faster time this time by. And out into the S's in the back half of the lap. You skip a lot of them definitely remove some of the technicality of the lap with this modified edition, but it changes some of the corners that we're used to being a little bit faster as a result.
Puts a lot more emphasis on momentum, I feel, is you got to really keep that speed up through these corners in order to absolutely maximize the straights, especially in these lower powered cars where it can be difficult to find runs. Jason Lee, by the way, jumping to the number 10 spot on the boards. Twitch for Hall on the way in, and he has to avoid one car that just spun itself out. Alexander Hammonds jumps to 4th, just shy of being 2/10 within the leaders. Here comes Justin Hall, trying to get into the 120s, not going to get it, missing out by only about 300ths of a second.
300ths slower than his last time. As Evan Campbell also comes around to finish out a lap, coming out of the sunset hairpin.
Sweet close. He improves by 2/10.
Takes away the spot from Justin Hall, who we were just talking about. Improves up to 19th, breaking him further into that top 20.
Good show.
Good set of improvements there, yes. Alex Clank also getting a time in, finally, with a 120.48 and putting himself up into the 15th position.
About 5 minutes remaining in this, as well as the field going to continue to try and battle it out however is physically possible. It's always a difficult task, but a doable one regardless.
That it is. It's always interesting to kind of when you take a crack at qualifying, especially when in an open qualifying format, in these cars where they've been.
Well, seems like we aren't the only ones that are having problems this afternoon. I know Dustin had an encoder drop earlier today, and it's looking like it's no different here this afternoon with us. So we do appreciate folks bearing with us here as we try to just fight our way through this thing and continue to put on a good show this afternoon in qualifying. 3 minutes to go for Evan Campbell, as Campbell doing all he can to try and work the problem and fight his way further up through the field.
That he is. He was in 19th, bumped down as a couple more drivers broke into those two, or 120.9 and further up the order. So he's got to climb his way back into the top 20 from where he had it earlier. A few other drivers, many other drivers that we can see out here still trying to turn laps. Mac Verstappen right in front of him, going down the start-finish stretch, or sorry, not start-finish, the sunset, coming into sunset hairpin, excuse me. Heart of the binders. Aaron Thacker as well in this collection of cars, all trying to get lap times in. He's got a decent run out of the hairpin.
Yeah,
see if he is also able to improve.
Yeah, we're starting to work the final trip around this place as well. The fact that, for the most part, everyone going to be doing everything they can to exercise the most out of these laps. We've only got, and around, going to go Thacker, and into the wall hard goes Harrison as well. So that's 2 more cars out of qualifying. And again, coming up to the start-finish line for the final time for several cars tonight.
That they are. Aaron Thacker thankfully got in a 120.6 last time by and put himself up into 18th with that. So a good run the lap prior. Unfortunately, no way to improve it now as Austin Tucker works his way to the park and ends out his lap time as he reverses back to the fire engine.
I don't think he's going to be able to tow that, you know.
I don't think he is. I don't know why he's backing up to it. I don't think they even have winches to do that with. As Tyler Vietnan comes out of hairpin to set a lap time a little bit faster than his current one in 27th.
Across the line, Vietnan fires in a pretty solid lap time there, so not able to improve regardless of that lap. Several cars just waiting now to close things out. Sebastian Close chasing a 121.4.
He has been getting closer to that number. Past 3 laps I've been watching, kind of keeping an eye on some of these drivers, and Sebastian Close, I think, has the run finally put together for him. See if he improves.
There we go. Improves by about 2.5 tenths, and that'll put him to 24th.
That it will. Solid end of a lap there. There's a few more come working their way around final corners. Alex King, Matthew Dupuis, Evan Campbell, all kind of in a row of cars working their way around. With less than 5 seconds to go, I don't think they're going to be able to finish out a lap in time.
They will not be able to do that, so the grid is set for the sprint race coming on up, and this is how they line on up for said sprint race here this afternoon as the drivers will get set to come on in. It is Austin Tucker for Serial Team 6, starting on the pole alongside Jake Kasich on the front row. Row 2 headed up by Chris Flams and Alexander Hammonds. Row 3 by Eric Ronenberg and Jason Lee. Row 4 then holds Alexander Bueller and Chris Bright. Row 5 with Ron Wolf and Kyle Blevins. Row 6 headed up by Scott Flame for Legends of the Hidden Temple alongside the Cryptid Awareness Project number 5 and Matt Verstupen. Row 7 holding Alexander Klink, one of the Misfits, alongside the Legends Never Die number 9 of Brooks Clayton. Row 8 with Serial Team 6's Greg Beckman alongside Alex King. Row number 9 holding Ringo Harrison and Aaron Thacker. Row 10 and the top 20 headed out by Ryan Verhulst and Matthew Dupuis. From there, moving on back to the field, it's going to be Justin Brissy, Evan Campbell, Justin Hall, Sebastian Close, Jeremy Castro, Blake Gambrill, Tyler Vietnan, Tyler Carlton, Carson Catlin, Adam Joseph Milhot, Chris Zofer, Shane Cameron, Henry Morse, Tyler Augustino, Giovanni Romano, and John Combs.
As they get ready to take to the green flag, all of them getting into their grid boxes, which kind of wrap around the sunset,
just
the end of
bit.
Sunset Bend. Should make for a very interesting start. I'm going to guess we're going to see another fantastic 3-wide. I don't think we'll get quite as many around as we did at Oschersleben in the preseason testing, but I can hope.
We can indeed hope, and hope we shall, as we now just wait for those revs to build. About 20 seconds left. It's going to be a draft-heavy race this afternoon. Do you reckon that caused any problems in the hairpin or turn 1?
I'm going to guess maybe the hairpin at the end of the lap. I'm going to say turn 1 might be the sensible one.
Sprint racing action is officially underway this afternoon as Austin Tucker starts to hightail it down towards turn number 1. The rest of the field hovering out in hot pursuit just behind, fanning out 3, almost 4 wide into the opening corner. Tucker hangs on for the top spot. The rest of the pack slicing and dicing behind, trying to find a way through. No problems through turn number 1. Now the question is, do we survive through turns 2 and 3? Few cars going out a little bit too wide, but for the most part, no one going all the way around. And we continue to work clear. One car does spin near the tail end, but otherwise, it's all Austin Tucker up front.
That it is. Zippering down as they get into the S's here, kind of the more technical section that they need to figure their lines out. Otherwise, they're going to lose more time. You saw it in turn 1 from people who had the shallow lines. And they kind of continue the way of those that have the higher speed, the momentum that you were talking about, as they weave in this almost snake-like formation. A couple cars in the background there, unfortunately, around.
A couple of cars, unfortunately, going around the rest of the battle pack. Working down into the sunset hairpin. Anybody making any kind of extra brave lunges? Doesn't look like it. Oh, Matthew Dupuis goes out wide. But everyone else funnels into line. And Austin Tucker leads lap number 1 to green in the sprint.
That he does. Tyler Vietnan, John Combs, Tyler Carlton are the few drivers that got caught up in that melee coming onto the stretch. Back through turn number 1. It looks nice and tidy. Hard on the binders into the turn number 2. A little bit of a lockup there. I believe it was Alexander Bueller. He's trying to work his way around Eric Ronenberg.
And Alexander Hammonds takes the race lead as Austin Tucker slipped 2 wide in 3. So Hammonds now to the top spot. But Tucker and Kasich both waiting in the wings, both of them eager to try and challenge the driver of the number 26 up the road. And again, you see them pushing all the way over to the right side. Well, one car around in the background. It's Jeremy Castro hard into the fence. Goes in there tail first. While the rest of the field looking to make moves down into turn number 8. Tucker retakes the lead, and this time will retain it.
He will indeed, getting a great run in the draft. The draft being, I think, the great, I almost want to say the great equalizer, but definitely the piece that is making it harder as he swerves to keep the draft from being too easily formed. Going into turn 1, they're going to run too wide, it looks like. So the wider run out of it.
Oh, look out.
Hasn't hurt.
Into the wall goes Alexander Bueller, one of the big runners from last week, and Alexander Hammonds is losing a boatload of spots as well. But a big issue for Alexander Hammonds, or Bueller, sorry.
Yeah.
I guess for Hammonds as well.
A little bit less of one. I think Alexander Hammonds just kind of got a little bit loose there. Chained it before it got too big of an issue. Chris Flams getting on the brakes, locking up, and that's what happened that sent Bueller and Chris Flams into the tire barrier and wall as they went around.
And then in the middle of all of this, there was another collision coming down in towards the corner. Right there, you see the 65 going around with the 703 of Dupuis. They both found the wall as well.
They did. I'm thinking we're going to see a couple more of that into turn 1 and coming out of turn 1.
Oh, here we go.
Hopefully.
Oh, boy.
Oh. Brooks Clayton getting real loose there, but holding on to it.
Oh, Bright's around. No, that's Blevins, sorry, that went around at the tail end. So, not quite the start that that pack was hoping to have. Fast lap of the race, though, put down by Alexander Klenk, who was in that other pack leading the way just up the road. This all here is the battle for that final invert spot, and the final spot that scores sprint race points.
This is the great, I think, fun pack racing you get to see with these Legend 34 coupes that we've gotten to see a lot of this season, but it's always such a fun thing to watch, just like an army of angry bees haul down the track with the way these engines, those Yamaha motorcycle motors end up sounding here.
One drive around at the tail end. It is Aaron Thacker who has gone for a spin, but he is, oh, whoa, hold on. Jason Lee, turn middle of the straightaway, goes off the road. What has happened to Lee here?
If you keep an eye on him, he gets bumped by Alexander Klenk, it looks like.
Oh, you can't push the pusher.
Yeah.
Keeps it out of the wall.
Code. But he drops down the order.
Everyone else in a mad scramble down the road towards turn number 1. Again, this fight here, the fight for the last transfer spot. Justin Hall and Chris Bright side by side for it. They might not be. Those one car goes super deep. That's the 12 of Ryan Verhulst. Verhulst now dropped out of the top 12.
And he almost locked up those brakes into turn 1, which sent him out wide. You got to be very careful with applying the brakes in that turn. As 77, Evan Campbell, or 71, excuse me, Evan Campbell goes spinning around in the background of that shot. He gets back underway, keeps it out of everybody else's doors. Blake Gambrell also spinning, coming out of the double apex.
Battling down the back straightaway. It is an intense and right now pretty ugly grudge match that we got going on here. Into the final corner we go. Brooks Clayton trying to get around Matt Verstappen and get around him. He will.
Tyler Agostino also looking to pick up a spot there. Excuse me, Alex King.
8 minutes to go, just over halfway in the 15-minute sprint race. That is really making strides in this.
Yeah, you see the gaps forming between these cars. Scott Fleming kind of out on an island in front of this pack of cars that we're looking at. Just putting in the lap time to keep himself in the transfer spots, kind of in the middle point, as they fight over the final 4 positions. Or sorry, excuse me, 5 positions.
So King, Verstappen, Agostino, Hall, Bright, and more under a blanket. Oh, hello. Look at this here. As this is Ron Wolf, Jay Casey, and Alexander Klenk starting to scrap it out as well. They got to fight for the lead as well with Alexander Hammonds now under pressure again from Tucker.
And under pressure from Tucker and Ronenberg, both, just in the draft of that 26 car, both looking to get a better run into turn 1. As you see the weaving done by these drivers, the faster lap on the outside, Austin Tucker gonna take it out wide and then work his way back in. Eric Ronenberg gonna hang out behind both of them and wait for either Carnage or the faster line to emerge, and he'll hang out with them. Too wide into the braking zone. Austin Tucker drops down to 3rd, having to take the more shallow line. I'd say this fight is far from over.
So long as they're within a second, it's not over.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a pretty intense drive from most, as Hammonds kind of kicking the tail end out there. That lets Ronenberg reel in the gap just that little bit more. And he can smell blood in the water.
That he can. Able to keep up and get a good run here. Austin Tucker behind them as well. And Alex Hammonds covering up the inside.
Couple of cars around in the background. We'll look at that in just a moment.
They're too wide into the hairpin. Eric Ronenberg getting the better run into the final kink.
And down the front straightaway, Hammonds down to the 10th, makes the look out to the left. Does Tucker put in 3? Down the front straightaway we go. No, he will not. But Ronenberg with the over-under gets right back around Alexander Hammonds.
That he does. He's going to force. He's just constantly going for the over-under. Alex Hammonds running wide with that. It did indeed. So
this is an incident with Matt Verstappen. This has put him out of the top 12 as he goes for a bit of a high-speed spin in Le Mans.
He's got spun in Le Mans. Giovanni Romano and a couple others also wrapped up in that incident as people checked up, such as Giovanni Romano, and got spun by cars who did not check up as much.
So Alexander Hammonds making the look, getting back around Eric Ronenberg. Ronenberg trying to outbrake him into the final corner. When does Tucker make the look now, right? Because Tucker's waiting in the wings. He knows he can get both of these guys here. But you just got to be patient. You got to bide your time. He's going to get around Hammonds here as Hammonds has a slip-up coming out of turn 9.
Yeah, he's just waiting to finally make the move. I'm thinking he's waiting until he gets a nice run on the back stretch and then holds on to it going into the start-finish straight as Austin Tucker forces the inside for Eric Ronenberg. Ronenberg having the better speed. And Austin Tucker is going to take the lead there, but really loose going into double apex of 2 and 3. keeping Eric Ronenberg, Alexander Hammonds, and Jake Kasich and Alex Clank, Ron Wolf, all three drivers now back within a half a second of this lead train. This battle for first just became a 6-way fight instead of a 3-way.
Top 6 separated by only 2 seconds right now. And the biggest gap between any one of those drivers is 6/10. Adam Joseph Mailhot into pit road. Could not go the distance. May have taken a tow to pit road. And in fact, that is exactly what he has done. So Mailhot taking the tow. He was already at the tail of the field. Likely just wanted to call it quits in the sprint race. Not interfere with things. Ronenberg again sends one to the inside of Austin Tucker. And Tucker trying to get the drive back around and out of the final corner and now to the front straightaway. Hammonds hanging on in third.
They're all hanging out. The other group of cars behind them just getting closer. Austin Tucker diving to the inside. He's making the look for it. And getting the better run out of the corner. Eric Ronenberg shuffling back into second, but holding the inside line.
Oh boy.
As they go 2 wide through 2 and 3. Eric Ronenberg coming out the faster car from those 2 corners as they go into the S's. And Alex Hammonds running along with him, getting the better run because of the draft behind Eric Ronenberg, but has to, not hit Austin Tucker. And Jake Kasich is like, well, there's an open door there. I might try to use it. But he shuffles back into the line of cars coming down this the back straight.
Tucker going to give the push to Ronenberg, and that's going to let Hammonds and more close up behind. I believe it'll be 2 laps to go at the stripe. Shouldn't be the white flag lap. There goes Jake Kasich making the look for third. Will he go for second? He's going to try to go 2 for 2 here into the braking zone. Gets Austin Tucker off the corner, but Tucker with the drive off, trying to get back around him. But Kasich secures second.
That he does. A great bit of footwork there, kept the car going the right direction with how loose we saw it get. But Austin Tucker has a great run with the draft behind Eric Ronenberg.
3 wide
as well. 3 wide in the one. Austin Tucker coming out the victor from this, but Jake Kasich right on his heels. Eric Ronenberg still on the inside, locks up the brakes going into the 2-3, keeps it out of the wall or out of Austin Tucker's door panel, but Jake Kasich looking to go up the middle here, 3 wide again as they go into the S's.
This ain't gonna work. Sooner or later, Kasich gonna get squeezed out, and there it was. Got squeezed on the approach to turn 6, and now out through 7 and 8. Oh, Tucker's gonna go around. Tucker drops it, and that is gonna send him crashing out of the fight. Now, guys like Clank and Kasich got to work together if they want to catch up to Eric Ronenberg. They got 8.5 tenths. That is doable, though, in just 1 lap with how powerful this draft is.
Yeah, if they work together, they absolutely have the opportunity here with these 4 cars to make their way back up. You can see how much ground they cover relative to Eric Ronenberg when they go into the braking zone to the hairpin. As the 4 of them go 2 by 2, coming out.
Whoa, look at Wolf!
Big shake from Ron Wolf. Keeping the car in the right direction, however. White flag this time for all of these drivers as they go into turn 1 for the final time.
Final lap of the sprint race this afternoon. 0.6 of a second down to half as they get into turn number 1 this afternoon. Right now, the battle for 12th. A loose fight between Chris Bright and Greg Beckman as that fight has absolutely fallen apart with various calamities that have taken place over the course of the sprint race. So we've been busy tuning in to this intense battle for the win. Eric Ronenberg working his way to the Ullman straight for the final time. I don't think Jake Kasich is going to have the run that he needs to get up there. He just doesn't have the help from behind.
Yeah, does not have that help. They all fanned out to try to fight for the positions. And then as a result, the ability to work together and give a bump draft isn't there. So they're all just hugging the inside, wall as Eric Ronenberg tries to keep the draft off of him and keep that distance of down to half a second. But, the distance behind as far away as he can, coming out of the sunset hairpin into the kink and out of the end of the lap. He holds on to it for the checkered flag.
Eric Ronneberg takes the win. Kasich second. Clank in third. Wolf, Hammonds close out the top 5. And, of course, the battle now for the final transfer spot. Verhulst trying to hang on against Justin Hall and Greg Beckman. And hold on, he very much will. And that takes us straight through to, of course, the good old post-sprint race festivities.
The usual.
The usual.
Turn 1, the usual. While we didn't mention it explicitly at the time, battle for 15th going into the final lap of turn 1 was a four-wide run for cars.
That was a short celebration. It really shows just how closely packed together all of these cars were this afternoon. Well, here are the official post-race results then from heat race number 1. Ronneberg, Kasich, Clank, Wolf, Hammonds, Fleming, Tucker, Morse, King, and Clayton will be in the top 10. And that, of course, heads up Chris Bright, Ryan Verhulst for 11th and 12th as cars are continuing to come across the line. That is it then for the first bout of racing action this afternoon. We'll take a step back and be back with more in just a moment on Green Flag TV. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where we are still in the warm-up phase here for the closing stages of this racing action here tonight. 1 hour of racing left to go this afternoon. My name is Nolan Rempel alongside Acinni Fan, a wild sprint race that we just had for us. How do you reckon it's going to go down when we get down to the actual main show?
I get the feeling it's going to be a fantastic race. I'm going to say we're going to see a little bit of a spread to the field by the end of it based on what we saw there. But I think with the way these drivers are, they'll want to pair up and help push each other to the front of the grid, in front of the order at the end of the hour of racing we have here. I think we'll see a lot of fantastic driving. I think we'll also see a lot of fantastic battling for positions, especially when we get close to that last 15 minutes of racing and coming out of any of the Code 69s we get this evening.
You know, draft racing is kind of interesting like that, right? A lot of the times it can help to keep a pack close together, but if you get one or two cars that drop out of that leading pack, well, they're going to be all by themselves the rest of the time because they got no way to close up to the guys in front of them. And so it continues all the way down. As we saw with Austin Tucker, you can only, keep having all this side by side for so long before it goes awry. And it could prove to be a big factor in how this race pans out. You're right.
I don't think so. I think the knowledge I gained from my 1 week of oval broadcasting is really coming in handy here. To also note that, with the draft being applicable there, you also have very warm tires. I think what we saw at the end of the sprint race, with those tires really starting to get a little squirrely for these drivers as they are just very warm.
Well, the field is set and ready to rumble. This is how things line on up for round number 2 of racing action this afternoon. 1 hour of racing action coming at you from the Sebring International Raceway. Started on pole position, it is going to be Ryan Verhulst, finishing 12th in the sprint race alongside Chris Bright. Row number 2 headed up by Brooks Clayton and Alex King. From there, it's Henry Morse and Austin Tucker. Row number 4 headed up by Scott Fleming and Alexander Hammonds. Then the top 10 closed out by Ron Wolf and Alexander Klenk. And then Jake Kasich finishing second to Eric Ronenberg, who had that major breakaway to close out the sprint race. He was not able to be caught. Moving back to the field from there, it is, of course, Justin Hall, Greg Beckman, Jason Lee, Tyler Augustino, Shane Cameron, Matthew Dupuis, Chris Flams, Evan Campbell, Aaron Thacker, Ringo Harrison, Sebastian Close, Matt Verstappen, Jeremy Castro, Justin Brissy, Kyle Blevins, Chris Zofer, Blake Gambrell, Tyler Carlton, John Combs, Carson Catlin, Giovanni Romano, Tyler Vietnan, Adam Joseph Mailhot, and closing out the field is, of course, Alexander Bueller.
Alex Bueller with that unfortunate bit of an incident earlier on and taking the toe to pit road. See him start from back of the grid. I think it'll be a fantastic last to first challenge. We usually see at least a couple drivers do it every week. So I think he'll be on a bit of a heater trying to work his way back through the field.
So the pack ready to swing on out once again for more stellar action here this afternoon, as we can see everybody just about lined up and ready to rumble. I'm optimistic for this race. What do you think?
How so? I am as well. I'm curious as to why you said you think it is.
I like draft racing. It's always entertaining.
Very good. I think I'm in the similar boat.
I'm a simple man.
That's very fair. I love the pacing of these cars on this track. I think it'll make for consistent racing.
Field sent to rumble out. Green flag drops. It's go, go, go for the main event this afternoon from the Sebring International Raceway. The field fanning out on the mad scramble down towards turn number 1 this afternoon. Ryan Verhulst maintains his run up front. No issues from the field behind. A couple of cars getting a little bit squirrely, but while they're a bit spread out, they're able to make the run. Up the inside goes Chris Bright into turn number 2. Not able to get it in, though, that time around. And Verhulst maintains his run through turn 3. Back out towards turn number 4. Now working to 5, 6, and 7 through Gambadian and more. Headed up towards the long curve. As you take a look at this entire opening lap from up high, Ryan Verhulst continues to pull clear at the very head of this field. And unlike the opening laps in the sprint, no problems in turns 2 or 3. And we continue to maintain a good run down the Open Straight.
That we do. A couple of drivers getting a little loose on that start, and I think it was Jake Kasich having a bit of a moment, making friends with the inside of the barrier of turn number 1, as both Brooks Clayton, Austin Tucker diving up the inside into the hairpin.
Austin Tucker trying to make moves from behind as the rest of the field. Holy cow, look at that, 5 wide, deeper in the field and around, gonna go John Combs.
Gosh.
Combs gets tipped around to the tail end, but they were 5 wide coming down the back straightaway. That was a wild sight, and leading the way at the end of lap number 1 is Ryan Verhulst, but could very well say, not for long. This is the 5 wide down the Ullman Straight.
And I think a very fantastic shot. We've seen it twice now in the series.
Oh, boy. Still haven't gotten it, though, without somebody getting spun around.
Only one person got spun around this time, and they got immediately turned back around
You're not
by
wrong.
Alex Buehler, who was very kind of him to fix that. So the rest of the field zipper down, driving nose to tail, and the beautiful snake of cars. I say that as we have one making a bit of an inroad on the inside of the curbing on the S's. Comes out unscathed.
Tucker looking to make the dive to the inside of Brooks Clayton and could try to go for the lead of the race as well. Spun himself out with just a lap to go in the sprint, and now straight through to the point. So Tucker able to clear for the top spot. Ryan Verhulst looking to get the crossover now for number 2 and 3 behind. And Austin Tucker maintains the lead. He'll lead lap number 2.
That he will, but now he has to go understand that now he has none of the benefits that he had the past couple laps on working his way up, because the draft is now behind him instead of something he can utilize. As Ryan Verhulst makes his way back around at turn 1.
It's going to be a constant back and forth all day long for that top spot, unless somebody can actually break away. But even then, if you get a couple of guys linked up, I don't think we're going to be able to see anybody really break away in this race. That's what makes this modified layout oh so intriguing. And we got Matt Verstappen turned around to the tail end of the field along with Alexander Buehler.
Tough break for Alex Buehler. Ryan Verhulst also. To look back at what happened for Max Verstappen.
Boy,
off the
target
grass.
fixation.
Yeah, following the other cars through, which he probably shouldn't have done. Gets spun as he runs in the rear end of Justin Ricci, and then Alex Buehler deciding to follow in the off track as well.
So everyone else fanning out down the back straightaway and in towards turn 9. Back to the front straightaway. Austin Tucker, Ryan Verhulst, and more continue to slice and dice for the lead of the race. Slingshot drafting is going to be a very prominent side, I think, this afternoon.
I would have to agree. The whole
Oh, yeah, hello. Got a couple of them around.
Yeah. Justin Ricci.
Oh, one upside down. Justin Hall with a big tumble. Coming down the stretch. Oh, we got another one upside down.
Carson.
Now it's Kyle Blevins up and over.
Oh.
A massive accident coming down the back straightaway. First, Casey got spun around, then Hall went over, then Blevins followed.
A domino effect happening here. You watch the car get pinched and then flipped over. Fan out again. Jake Kasich working his way back up the order.
It started with Flams.
Yep. Chris Flams, Ron Wolf.
There's Justin Hall going over. And then arriving on scene late is the 248, who went upside down as well.
Yeah,
And both cars going tumbling.
They both land on their feet, though, so they're able to get back underway.
Oh, my. So that was the initial crash that happened here, and then this was the big ride that Justin Hall took as he tumbled end over end. And then it's not over, because just a little bit behind him is Blevins, who went cartwheeling as well.
Yeah, he was trying to get around, and Jake Kasich was rejoining. Just a unfortunate series of events for all those drivers. That is unfortunately also really spread out the field for all of them, kind of behind this main pack of drivers. From first down to, let's say it's 10th. All within a few tenths of each other, battling for the lead. It's a train of cars. Alex Clank looking towards the inside, trying to see if he wants to make the run there. Austin Tucker, Brooks Clayton both pushing Ryan Verhulst into the hairpin.
And if you're just tuning in, welcome on board to round number 5 of the Beer League on Greenflight TV. As we welcome in the remaining audience for the PSR Singular Expo Truck Series, just wrapping up a few moments ago. If you're new to the party, this is what just went down about 5 minutes ago. An absolutely monumental crash. You saw the 137 got spun around. Up the road, there was more trouble. But here comes Justin Hall. Hall's going to go for a huge tumble down the stretch. But he is not the only one, because here comes Kyle Blevins, caught unsighted. He also went cartwheeling down the straight between turns 1 and 2. And that's so far one of the biggest accidents we've seen in a couple of weeks.
Definitely one of the biggest we've seen, at least with the most number of cars and kind of a unique set of incidents. Not one giant big crash full of all of them, but a trio of unfortunate flips.
So tandem drafting, 3 cars all linked up, Nerf bar to the Nerf bar, as they work down the Ullman Straight and into the Sunset Hairpin. Verhulst deep on the brakes, going to manage to keep clear of Clayton and Tucker. I feel like right now we're seeing a lot of drivers playing the fuel save game. This could end up being like the case of what we saw in Formula E in Berlin several years ago, right, Fen, where nobody wants to lead the race.
Yes, definitely one where whoever is leading doesn't really want to be there, because they also understand that at the end of this hour-long race, they're going to be the one that has the least options in terms of pulling out a win. Giovanni Romano looking to get around Chris Bright as they go into the braking zones for 2 and 3. Around on the outside. Holding it too wide around the outside. Chris Bright getting the better launch. Now Aaron Thacker, Alexander Hammonds both in the mirrors of Giovanni Romano. So looking to keep this train going.
Back behind Matt Verstappen going around again at the tail of the field.
You call the bars there Nerf bars?
Yep.
Just want to make sure I heard that right. Okay. Is there a specific reason they called that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
They call it that in modified racing as well, so don't look at me.
Understood. Okay, got it. I just want to make sure whether it's not a saying that starts or ends with you. We'll blame the modified people who have a better knowledge than we do. I was just curious. So
I'm sure there's some technical reason for it.
Oh, absolutely. Austin Tucker taking over the lead of the race from Verhulst.
Justin Hall having another slide on the Ullman Straight.
Jake Kasich, I think, also caught up in this. Both just ran.
Maybe?
I think so. Oh.
No, Hall going for the overtake, and Kasich just drifts into him.
Is that what happened, or
yeah.
Is it... Oh.
Tell you what, could have been worse.
Absolutely.
Well, you see the field in a pretty heads-up scramble for positions as Austin Tucker breaking away now with 1.3 seconds of the field. Now, if Clayton, Clank, and Moore want to catch him, they got to start working together and stop fighting each other, or Tucker's going to take off, and no one's going to be able to get up to him.
Absolutely. I get the feeling Ryan Verhulst had a bit of a worse run. Alex King looking to get around both Henry Morris and Ryan Verhulst. Over the 4th spot. Alex Clank, Brooks Clayton trying to work their way back up. Austin Tucker on a bit of a breakaway. Like you said, I don't think, unless they work together, Austin's got P1 at least for the moment, kind of free and clear to breathe.
Brooks Clayton not able to make the dive for second place. Down to turn number 2. He'll remain in line behind Alexander Klenk. Just behind him, Chris Bright is able to get up and around Alexander Hammonds. There's Tyler Agostino waiting in the wings as well. So still got a lot of these kind of one-off battles, but it's not quite like the frantic swap drafting that we saw going on in the 15-minute sprint. A lot more orderly, and I feel like, again, a lot of fuel saving going on right now as drivers try to make fuel strategy numbers.
I wondered if that's what Ryan Verhulst is doing, because it seems like he is, kind of dropping down the order here, but I wonder if that isn't involving a fuel strat number of some kind. And I think you're right on the nose there with the numbers there being an important factor, which is breaking up a lot of these fights into smaller pockets of drafting and planning more on fuel saving than outright pace or passing for position. Klenk getting an unlucky run out of the final turn, dropped him way down the order. Alongside Giovanni Romano, who has the fastest lap so far. And Aaron Thacker right behind, who has the fastest lap so far with a 119.47.
King, Clayton, Morse, Klenk for the top 5 outside of Austin Tucker, who continues to pull further and further clear. Tucker now with a 1.2 second gap on everybody else, just a little ways behind him. So the gap's continuing to extend out more and more over the last little while.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I also wonder if Austin's now able to just worry about his fuel numbers rather than worry about trying to fight for a position, with that gap of 2 seconds really kind of keeping them separate 2 by 2 for these 4 going into the hairpin.
Of course, don't forget, Code 69s could very much disrupt the order of this race. That window has been open for almost 10 minutes now. No sign of one as of yet, though. Now we're going to look for 3 down the front straightaway. Thought we might for a moment. They'll get it back down to pretty much single, and then 1 car poking the nose out. There's Aaron Thacker taking 1 spot away from Brooks Clayton and trying to do the same on Alex King, who was in second place the last time he made his way down the front straightaway there.
I think the swap drafting is not fully done and dead yet, based on the order these cars are all hanging out in. But as they're doing this, for the most part, it almost looks like they are struggling there. Jason Lee, also a car that's struggling. I wonder if he had a bad...
Oh, hello. Couple of bad corners. Nosed it first into turn 1. That put him way off cycle here. I think he had another problem in 2.
Believe so. Yeah, gets it spun around. Get on the power too early there. Oh. Gets impacted from the side there at 74.
So the 816 and the 99.
Big drift there for Alex King in the background of these cars in the battle for first.
What the heck happened to Austin Tucker in a 2-second lead a couple laps ago?
I want to say he had a bad exit onto the straight. He got a little loose. That's what I think I saw happen there. And then as you get the power down, he almost spun it at one point in this lap. And that gave him lost the run there that he had in the day with the draft. Ate him up. Now Aaron Thacker sitting at the front.
So the fight for the lead is on. Thacker trying to hang on now as Romano makes the lookout for the top spot, but he gets loose and has to tuck it back in line. He'll quickly funnel in with the draft and let the sprint race style swap drafting commence. Romano gets through. Tucker will force his way through to second place as well.
That he will. Aaron Thacker. Oh. Austin Tucker having to recover the car. Still too wide with Aaron Thacker. I just love the amount of swapping for positions we're seeing in this front pack. I think it's happening further down the order as well.
Oh, it absolutely is. There's a lot of fights we got going on deeper in the field. Here's one for 10th between Scott Fleming and Eric Ronneberg. The exact same scene that we're seeing play out for the lead of the race is also playing out for spots all the way up and down throughout the field. We, of course, saw that big battle for the number 2 spot. This is for 14th on back, just behind these guys. Right behind them, the fight for 18th with Flabs, Cameron, Campbell, and Moore. Justin Brissy, Kasich, and Carlton are also in a bit of a tight trio, as is Castro, Blevins, and Vietnam. Everywhere you look, you got fights going on, but this fight for the lead is starting to shrink back in. A lot more cars getting involved, except for the top 6 or 7 that were already here. But if they close out much more, we'll have up to 13 cars involved in this fight for the top spot.
That we will. Austin Tucker on the look now for the first position. Keeps it tucked in, though, for second. Has a much better run than he did last lap, but so does Aaron Thacker behind him. All of them getting the benefit of the draft coming out of the final corner. I'm curious to see who makes the dive for the lead into turn 1.
No look just yet.
Well, I was excited, and I'm still excited because I'm now curious if this is all just a draft train to do fuel numbers for a big portion of our drivers.
Still no sign of a code 69. We continue to watch and wait patiently. Giovanni Romano, see if he can't break away, but Tucker's going to have the slipstream all the way down the Ullman straight toward turns 8 and 9.
Look for Henry Morris in the background, going around Alexander King. I love that Giovanni Romano just kept the straight line there, didn't do the weaving. We see some of it, so it's just everybody can say nice and compacted in a nice tight back for battling, but also makes it simple. I think that Henry Morse ends up making a gap there by opening up, trying to get around Alex King. Spreads out this battle for the lead.
The battle for the lead continues to spread just behind them. Ronneberg steals a spot down the inside of Scott Fleming. Gets through for position, so Ronneberg able to make some progress as he'll now start to charge through the field.
Now on the tail end of Alexander Hammonds. So this battle of these two cars, they've been racing each other pretty much since the start of the sprint race.
Harrison off the road. Potential problems settling in for the 751 entry. Oh, that'll do it. Yep, bit of a spin all by himself.
Yeah.
Gets him pulled off the road in time at least.
Yep. Pull off the road. No harm, no foul there for him. Gets back going. A little bit of her pride, but
so Tucker trying to squeeze up to Giovanni Romano. Get a bit more of an in here as well. Tucker loose again. That's going to cost him about a 10th. It's that type of mistake that costed him a potential win and many others a win in the sprint race, remember? So he's got to be careful of doing that too often.
I wonder if it's just something with the setup that doesn't like warm or overheated tires it's, I think, also the same thing that cost him that 2-second gap he had at the beginning of this. So that's something with the setup or just the driving style that causes that slide to happen, especially as you're trying to apply the power down. These cars don't have a lot of downforce, so the grip is all mechanical, and if you push it too far, it will do the sliding that we see here and then slide out from under you if you're not careful.
So Romano, Tucker, Thacker, Clank, and more pedaling around each other, trying to see if they got any kind of a chance on getting an in going here.
Alex Bueller diving into the pit lane alongside Chris Flams. 2 early pit stops for these drivers.
So pit stops going to be now very much underway as we see even more cars starting to come down. I believe that is Jake Kasich that just came down. No, it's Carlton and Blevins.
Nope. Carlton, Blevins, Justin Brissy as well, also joining those cars on pit lane. John Combs, Tyler Vietnam also into pit lane.
And that is because we got a code 69 coming up at the end of this lap.
That we do.
There's a look to the inside for the race lead. Austin Tucker trying to make the charge. Who comes into pit road from the leading pack as Tucker takes the top spot away from Romano. And that's going to be tied onto the entry. All of the top 5 are in, pushing the limit, and they're side by side on the way in.
Oh, Scott Fleming got turned around there. Oh.
Fleming tanks it into the wall, and we are now under our first code 69 of the night.
Yeah, didn't brake enough initially. Locked with the brakes, trying to correct it, trying not to hit Chris Bright. Ends up bumping into him and spinning out into the wall there. So he'll have a longer pit stop than I think most of these drivers. Getting the car back underway. All these drivers that have pit already working their way out. The top pack of 5 racing to the exit. Austin Tucker being the one to lead that battle for the top 5. Beating Giovanni Romano with a faster pit lane time. Pit lane time, but a slower pit box time. That's interesting.
So once again, we slow things down. And we're going to get a chance to take a quick step away when we return. More racing action coming at you in a moment on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Green Flag getting set to come back out once again here on Green Flag TV as the Code 69 getting set to draw to a close. We'll work our way back around to the front straightaway. Waiting on the launch from Austin Tucker. As we are geared up for around the halfway mark.
Just about everyone came into the pits for this as well.
Still waiting on the official drop of the green flag. So I believe at the discretion of the race leader from this point on. So Tucker likely, just as I suspected, trying to wait to prevent these guys from getting the drop on him into turn one. They're going to fan out down the front straightaway.
This battle for the lead back on with all the drivers that had it at the beginning of the race. 2-3 wide going into turns 2 and 3. This seems to be surviving.
3 wide, deeper in the field. Alexander Bueller caught in the middle of Chris Bright, Scott Fleming, and more. We got more problems in the background.
Back for Stupin. Spun around. Number 24. He is back underway. Rough race for Mac Verstappen.
Rough race indeed, but still doing a good job on making this work here. There goes Austin Tucker. Defensive as Romano going to be let by. I think Tucker let him through on purpose, probably going for the fuel save strategy again.
I would have to think so. That and not having a great run there, doesn't want to impede them too seriously. And Alex Clank also picking up a couple spots there, jumping Aaron Thacker, who still kind of sits in third, where he was at the beginning of the restart. Officially also hit the halfway point this time by.
30 minutes to go in this. As Ronenberg gets to the inside of Henry Morse. The 26 able to get around more, so Alexander Hammonds is able to fight his way up another position. 29 minutes to go now. And Romano maintains the lead, but will Clank go for glory down the Ullman Straight?
It's possible, but I don't think he had a great run, so it might be better staying behind. Really see the draft applying there.
And
he stays tucked in.
And that draft still going to be in play big time as he works his way all the way back around to the front straightaway, already down to just 0.3 of a second, continuing to close. Is there a look into turn number one? No, there is not. He'll stay in line. Trouble for Scott Fleming's number 37 entry, as looks like he and Matt Verstappen have had to come together. Matt Verstappen's been given a black flag for incidents. Hard into the wall there for Fleming. And the Verstappen went into the sunset hairpin.
Yeah, just laying on the brakes for Matt Verstappen, separate of Scott Fleming. And he has gotten a black flag as a result, as you mentioned just a moment ago.
Tough break for the number 5. Already hitting that 40-point limit. And if he's already hit it, you have to start to get a little bit more worried about some of the drivers that have been in a few incidents so far tonight and how close they are to a potential incident.
Certainly, I think Matt Verstappen is a bit of a harbinger, one of the two, of black flags, as well as being sensible about being with your incident points for all these drivers that are more at the top edge, sharp end of the stick here. Alexander Clank looking to stick behind Giovanni Romano, do that fuel shave strat that we see Austin Tucker. I think a lot of the rest of this field here in the top 5, really almost the top 10 even, which now also involves Alexander Buehler, who has worked his way up into 10th.
So the battles continue on. Top 5 in play. Oh boy, here we go. 3 wide with Evan Campbell jumping up a few positions, as well as Scott Fleming. Shane Cameron in the mix, and the last car in line there, Tyler Vietnam. The first one up the road and around. Gonna go with the 71.
I think an unfortunate, didn't get on the brakes late enough, got tipped. He's back underway. A nice long train of cars from first all the way back to 10th within a second of each other, really within almost 5/10 of each other, half a second. And then that pack starting with Ryan Verhulst all the way back down. Sorry, Tyler Augustino. No, sorry, Ryan Verhulst. I had it right the first time. Down to John Combs for the next set of 10 almost. Top from 10th to 18th. All in one long run. Alex Buehler setting the fastest lap of the night. Or sorry, of the session with a 1:19.03. Jason Lee, unfortunately, finding himself in the barrier.
Jason Lee around for the second time in the same lap. Slid that one out, overcorrected into the wall, and the 248 that was upside down earlier just barely avoiding. And now Austin Tucker, I think, has just gone around again. As Austin Tucker with an issue here, you saw him drop down the order from 2nd to 9th, or 3rd to 9th, sorry, and you can only blame yourself for that one.
Yeah, got loose on the curbing and overcorrected, spun himself out. It'll be a bit more of a recovery race. Again, I wonder what that setup has that has him so easily spinning. Because it looks way less planted than the rest of the drivers there, even when they go over that curbing, which, while dangerous, isn't usually that deadly if you're paying attention to it.
Oh, look out, Chris Bryant turning Ryan Verhulst. Verhulst hard into the concrete as he tried to come off of the sunset hairpin, got into the side of the 10 and spun himself sideways. And now, oh, this is going to be a mess here. Jay Kasich blocking Brooks Clayton all the way down the racetrack. That's a little bit cheeky there, if you ask me, that type of a move.
Yeah, that definitely looked very much like blocking. Brooks Clayton trying to find a way around, getting pretty frustrated by the way that driving looks. This is the onboard with Brooks as goes for that inside look.
Oh, boy. Oh, never mind. All right, there was contact there. Yeah. All right, so not quite a block.
Nope. At least not an unwarranted block at that point.
Well, I mean, I feel like he's just trying to wrangle control back at that point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, both of them are, I believe. I think trying to go for the bump draft that did not pay off, as it wasn't quite lined up.
They're bump drafting for the lead. They're bump drafting for 3rd. They're bump drafting for 5th. Oh, and one bump draft has just gone wrong.
Yeah, they can't bump the bumper, I believe is the phrase.
You heard the crunch down into the corner.
Oh, nope. Just not early enough on the brakes, and then crunched into the rear end of Aaron Thacker.
And now Brooks Clayton having a bit of a moment as well, along with others like Greg Beckman and more. We'll look at that in just a moment. There was the 19 going around, and then moments later, Brooks Clayton in the middle of a big battle pack. Oh, John Combs getting caught up. Ron Wolf caught up. The 42 collected.
Greg Beckman also dragged into that with that 42. These battles are getting more spread out. The drivers are getting, I want to say, more tired. I don't think that's maybe the whole truth based on this league.
.22 minutes to go. No sign of the second code 69. We got 7 minutes before that window closes. Ron Wolf takes the toe to pit road. So he will officially be now out of the fight.
And I wonder if he was just doing that to call it an evening.
I'd imagine so.
Chris Flams, Chris Bright, both trying to chase down Jake Kasich, being chased down by Tyler Carlson, Justin Hall, Kyle Blevins, all in this pack for 11th.
A little ways behind them, Twin Dairy teammates are trying to keep Alexander Bueller at bay. That is Ronenberg and Morse that we are seeing scrap it out on the racetrack.
Ronenberg taking a little bit of a wider line. Right in front of them, you see Aaron Thacker, Alexander Hammonds trying to line up the bump draft and get the cars pushed up the field towards the front two. Alex Bueller just enjoying the draft at the moment, keeping a good distance in the braking zone as to not hit them. Same goes for Austin Tucker, Alex King, Tyler Agostino ahead of this pack that involves all these cars driving in 2x2. Too much down the rest of the racetrack.
For the 37, the 43, and the 74. All of them under a pretty hefty blanket right now as, you look at the 43 machine of Vietnam scrambling. Shane Cameron just behind them, able to get a nose in as well. 20 minutes to go, 3 wide. Back into turn number 1, Bright on the inside. Hall around the outside. Hall and Blevins both in this pack. They were both upside down earlier today. And they're both going to back out.
They both back out. Tyler Carlton being the driver to get the best of the lot there. And getting a pretty good run going to the S's here. Chris Bright and the rest of those cars all kind of following behind in lockstep. Jeremy Castro driving into pit lane for his second pit stop.
So Castro ducks in. There's the look as Hammonds gets around Thacker. Morse, Bueller, Ronenberg, all in the fray as well. This is a 3-way slugfest for third place.
It is indeed. Henry Morris looking a little shaky on the exit of the actual hairpin before the kink, but keeps it held together pretty well. They have a great run here. It's a drafting pairs, trying to see if they have the better run into turn 1. 2x2. Faster line versus the real estate. A swap. As Henry Morris goes around to Alexander Hammonds. Aaron Thacker pairing off Eric Ronenberg. Alex Bueller just waiting in the wings for something to go wrong.
Justin Hall and Matthew Dupuis both take to pit road as well. So more cars starting to siphon their way into the box. While these battles remain tight on the racetrack, getting set to enter the final quarter of this race.
Got just over 15 minutes, about 18 left to go. 5 cars all diving for the last podium position. Now Eric Ronenberg gets around both Alexander Hammonds and Aaron Thacker. This pair.
Oh no, the teammates come together! Big drop-offs for Morris. Ronenberg around with him.
Oh.
And their teammates.
And their teammates. Eric Ronenberg getting into Tyler Agostino.
Oh boy. That's going to lead to some discussions after the race.
I would have to imagine. I wonder if Henry
Rule
Morris
number
got
one,
loose
don't
there.
hit your teammate. Rule 1. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's like right on board with Ronenberg. He may have.
Yeah, and checked up to not lose it, and in the process, Ronenberg to not get the memo until he was made contact and spinning alongside Henry Morris. Chris Bright wide on the exit onto the back straight, keeping Kyle Blevins and Tyler Carlton behind him. Bump draft from Kyle Blevins. Eric Ronenberg and Tyler Carlton wrapped up in this battle for 9th.
Another hit to the wall for Ronenberg.
Yeah.
Chris Bright, Kyle Blevins, Tyler Carlton also in the fray here with Ronenberg. This still remains one of the more aggressive dogfights on the racetrack, as others are in the business of saving fuel. 60 seconds, by the way, until the caution window will close. Only had one race so far. Have 2 yellows in it, and it was last week. Or last race, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to get it.
I don't think we are either, which makes me excited for next time we do get to see 2 cautions in one race. Alex Bueller getting around Alex Hammonds and Aaron Thacker for that final podium position. They lapped Henry Morse, also in the mix. The window for the Code 69s is now officially closed. This will be a one Code 69 race, like most of the other weeks, with the exception of our last race out. As a good portion of the field, Alex King, Eric Ronenberg, Chris Bright, Kyle Blevins, Tyler Carlton, John Combs, Shane Cameron all dive into pit lane for their second pit stops.
I think that tells the story, right? They were all waiting to see if it was going to come out, and now that they know it's not, they're making the stop now so they have time to rally back.
Certainly. And I think it looks like, based on the fact that everyone seemed to almost make it to the halfway point, that it is a 2-stop for a fuel splash and dash, as you see all these drivers in pit lane for a very short amount of time compared to their last pit box times, just getting, I think, more fuel to take them to the end.
Harrison and Baris in the pit road right now. There are the top 2 working their way around. Both Romano and Klenk continuing to stay out here, potentially trying to run these tanks dry.
I have to imagine it. There's also the very real possibility, because they made it almost to the halfway point, just shy of it with the fuel tank, that if they have fuel saved correctly, they might have possibly made it a very short second stop. I don't think it's going to be a 1-stop, though.
You don't think?
Code 69 window came in just before the halfway point. I believe Alex Bueller and a couple others came in just before it was thrown for their first stop. So I think it's very possible that if they're going to do it on the one stop, it's going to be a very tight margin. But I don't think it's very likely.
Fair enough. Sebastian close down to the pits now from the 18th place spot. He'll drop to 20th and beyond. Seeing if perhaps this will be the lap that Clank comes down the pit road with Giovanni Romano. Nope, they will stay out.
Yeah. I'm going to guess they have probably a few more laps. Again, Giovanni Romano, Alex Clank, very well.
Oh, hello.
Known.
Who the heck?
Stopped car.
That was Maurice. Maurice.
Yeah. What happened there?
Whoopsie daisy.
Oh. Kept it out of the wall.
Far enough away that no one's really in danger of hitting him.
Mm-hmm.
So a three-way battle here for the third place spot, but critically,
Henry
that
Morris.
14 car of Henry Morris is a lap car.
He might be starting to hold up these two, which they'll want to get around him to take that fight back to Alex Bueller, who has a very comfortable space now. Henry Morris behind him.
And problems again for Justin Hall. Hall, who has not had a night to remember, spinning it around again, picking up the tail end all by himself, hard into the concrete. But again, keeps the car in a position where he can easily recover from without putting himself in danger of the field.
Giovanni Romano, Alexander Alex Clank, both in.
Here comes
for their
Bueller.
second stop. Bueller as well. Fantastic. See how little time they spend in their pit boxes. It's 20 seconds for the first pit stop. Our second pit stop so far have been roughly 10 seconds or less. So I assume we'll see something similar out of these drivers. 13 in the box for Giovanni Romano. Alex Clank, 10 seconds in. So a decent gap between Alex Clank and Giovanni Romano.
Clank's
Alex Bueller,
going to jump him on it because of that.
yes, with a decent margin. So unless Giovanni Romano has some help, it's very possible that Alex Clank has the pace here to take home the win.
That's assuming he hasn't mega short field the car and is now in danger of running out, though. Ryan Verhoff's now into the pits. Waiting on the top four to come in. They have all not come down for their second stop with 10 minutes to go. Alexander Hammonds takes the lead on... Oh, sorry. Maintains the lead from Aaron Thacker. Almost forgot Henry Morris is indeed still a lap car. So you're seeing him leading the way in these things, not being a lap down.
Oh. Yeah, but they now dive into the pit lane for their final pit stop. We'll see where they come out relative to Alex Clank, Giovanni Romano. I'm going to get the feeling they're going to be about where they were going into it. A 6-second gap between the two of them. Between those two pairs of cars, I should say. Tyler Agostino also in pit lane. Scott Fleming diving in as well. The lead will go back to Giovanni Romano. Had a great launch out of the final corner.
Again, I feel like Clank let him have it. It feels like compared to everybody else's stop so far, you know, we're talking around like 12, 13, 14 seconds. I feel like he was in the pits for too short. I think he had to do it to save the fuel.
I think it's possible. My other concern is he also had a pretty wide run onto the start-finish stretch. I wonder if he lost too much speed trying to keep it out of what would be the track limits there, and then also doesn't have a draft, whereas Giovanni Romano had a great draft from Brooks Clayton, who's caught up in the middle of that. And got the run there, but I would have to imagine, like you said, there's a bit of fuel saving going on for Alex Clank, excuse me.
Jeremy Castro given a black flag in his race, so Castro is going to be forced to pit road as he, oh, look out, one car just snapped sideways and I'd imagine has absolutely destroyed the wall. That is Sebastian Close. That has found the fence.
Got loose on the corner exit, trying to avoid, and then also trying to avoid Jimmy Castro. Just bounces off the tire barrier there.
Not as hard of
car going back again.
Not as hard a hit as I thought it was.
Well, the tire barrier also makes it a little bit nicer. He wasn't also going terribly fast because, again, he was just leaving the Sunset Kink and the hairpin. So
this year, the battle for 12th between Ronenberg, Carlton, Cameron, and Fleming, all of them have completed their final stop, so this is going to be a fight that takes us straight through to the end of the race.
Scott Fleming having a fantastic run here. See where he ends up. Oh. A great run. Continues. Tyler Carlton getting a little loose there. Excuse me, Shane Cameron. As Scott Fleming picks up, continues to go too wide. Over under from Shane Cameron.
Took too much.
Yeah. Now they're side by side. Neither really have a draft at this point.
They'll remain side by side into the hairpin. 6 minutes, I'd estimate 4 or 5 laps to go, maybe.
That sounds right to me.
As drivers continue to battle away.
Alex King and Chris Flams, they have been going at it for the past couple laps. Same as Scott Fleming, Chris Bright.
In fact, I think Chris Bright may have just had an issue.
Yes, he did. He got, I think Netcode tipped him.
Yep, sure did.
With how far he was off that bumper. But it said that he had run into the 137 of Chris Flams.
5 laps to go, 5 minutes ago, sorry, coming on up here. Less than 5 laps to go for Giovanni Romano and Alexander Klenk. Do you think Klenk's going to take him here?
I don't think so. I think we're going to wait. We're going to see him make the lunge on the last lap. Because like you said, if he's short fueled that much, he'll need to keep in the draft to the fuel saving that he needs to be able to make it to the finish. I don't think he has that much that he underfueled. I think he just did a little bit less than he probably needed initially, and then had a bit of a rough pit exit was kind of what it looked like to me. But either way, I think he'll wait till the last lap, last possible moment where he can't also then re-lose it on a future lap to Giovanni Romano as this duel for the lead comes to a close.
An aggressive fight as well for the number 11 spot as well. Eric Ronenberg leading the way, and look at all the cars starting to form a queue behind him here. There's a good number of cars in that battle back, and all of that is for position.
These are all for position. Chris Bright, Kyle Blevins too wide as they go through 2 and 3. The rest of the cars also single file, just a train of cars behind Eric Ronenberg. I'm excited to see who comes out on top. I think it could be any one of these 6 drivers that we're seeing in this battle. Kind of very reminiscent of the sprint race final few laps, but for first and not for last.
Yeah. Well, that fight for the lead is still very much there, and it still is, I'd argue, closer now than it was at this point in time for the sprint race finale because of Austin Tucker's spin. So
fair. I think it's a lot more paired battles than we have like one big pack though.
Yeah. Boy, a couple of cars drifting out a little bit wide there. Oh, in trouble for fourth as Alexander Bueller going to go around, and he just dropped out of the top 5.
Yeah, just a late self-spin. Goes into the second corner here, bumps over the curb too much, and loses control from the traction. Just spin it around.
It's easy to do. Very, very easy mistake.
Yeah. The curbing is not exactly kind to these cars. The suspension not really suited to take bumps like that very easily.
Romano continuing to hold on ahead of Alexander Klenk. 2.5 minutes to go.
We've got 2 laps, I believe.
Austin Tucker dropping a few positions. Oh, look at King getting a little bit power sliding there. 3 wide, round the outside goes Tyler Augustino. Trying to secure the run, but Kasich's got him.
Yeah, Kasich having a fantastic exit as well. Alex King kind of the loser there. Austin Tucker trying to keep up with this battle for 6th overall. Tyler Augustino, Alex King having a great run on the outside, trying to keep up with this battle and not let it get too far away from him. Too wide into the braking zone for turn number 2. And Alex King cedes the position to not impact the car around him.
Just behind them, Scott Fleming also under fire from Eric Ronenberg in the battle for 11th. A lot of the fights that we've seen developing over the last 15 minutes or so started to come to a head as we are working what could be the second to last lap, and I think Romano and Klenk going to be looking for the white flag here out of turn number 9.
I would absolutely agree with that. With the way that this is going, less than a minute and 20, which is kind of the last lap time there. White flag you see being waved in the air. This will be the last time by. Has a car in the background there.
It's Chris Silver.
Yeah.
Silver kind of tanking the fence. So the fights are still on, and now it's going to be pretty much a big grudge match to see who will take home the last stages of these fights tonight.
Oh, they're going 3 wide for a moment, but it is in fact 2 wide between Alex King and Tyler Augustino. Jake Kasich in the background, trying to figure out what is happening in front of him so he can come out on top. Mad dash for 11th. 11th. 10th up the position, 3 wide going to turn 1.
3 abreast, but they're able to get it together now down the Ulman straight for the final time. Here comes Giovanni Romano. Here comes Alexander Klenk. Both drivers trying to see if they've got the ability to go for the top spot. Klenk makes the look. Round the outside for Alexander Klenk. He takes the top spot. Immediately goes defensive. Romano trying to cut back in to get back around him. Into the final couple of corners. Romano with the over-under. Klenk round the outside into turn number 9. Drag race off the final corner. Back to the stripe. Contact between the two. Around goes Romano. And Klenk. Klenk slams the brakes. Klenk slams the brakes and gives the win back to Giovanni Romano.
Fantastic sportsmanship there. Aaron Thacker coming around from P3. Alexander Hammonds, Alexander Bueller, 4th and 5th. The close drag race there as we're watching Tyler Augustino and Alex King having a big last-minute fight for these 4 positions. Austin Tucker getting by Jake Kasich.
Oh, hello! Oh my goodness!
Big crash.
Terrifying crash for Shane Cameron. Went roof first, straight into the tire bundles. That's one of those moments where you're grateful it's just a sim. That was violent.
That was incredibly violent. Tyler Carlton, Scott Fleming also getting wrapped up in that for the as they do their usual post-race festivities. Finish off the last couple of drivers coming home.
Take a look back at this one again here as they come off of the final couple of corners here. We'll look at this from above. Romano got the over-under. Klenk tried to get him back. Kind of pinched him in a little bit there coming around to the final corner, and yeah, pinched him too much. Kind of had a hand and turned Romano around. Whether or not Klenk was actually at fault for that, obviously it's a matter for debate, but Klenk still gave up the win willingly, allowed Giovanni Romano to come back home and take the W. And like you say, incredible sportsmanship there.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you. I don't know that Clank was entirely at fault there. I think both of them were pushing really hard, and I think Giovanni, oh my God. And that was that impact and that collision and crash that ended up being the battle for 11th. And, it's pushed out. Scott Fleming comes back around, tips.
Quickly that thing went.
Oh.
Pirouetted on its roof and straight with the roll cage into the tire barrier. And that's not a thick tire barrier, right? I mean, that's only one layer. That would be a real concerning wreck if this was the real world. And well, what a race we had this afternoon.
Yeah.
A wild showing indeed. And after a dramatic final couple of laps, it is Giovanni Romano taking home the win as Alexander Clank willfully gives it up at the stripe. Aaron Thacker, 4 seconds. Al will be down in third with Hammonds at fourth. Bueller in fifth. King, Augustino, Tucker, Kasich, and Flamsden round out the top 10, Fen.
In 11th, Chris Bright, Kyle Blevins in 12th, John Combs, Eric Ronenberg, Shane Cameron, Tyler Carlton, Scott Fleming, Jason Lee, Brooks Clayton, and Tyler Vietnan are your top 20. Fantastic stuff, even with those late race incidents for these guys.
Moving on back down to the bottom bunch of cars here. It's Justin Hall and Greg Beckman, Morse, Melhot, Verhulst, and Camp were the last cars on the lead lap, with Close, Harrison, Dupuis, Castro, Brissy, Zofer, and Callan finishing laps down. Gambrel, Wolf, and Verstappen all failed to finish racing action tonight. So all of that takes us then back around to, well, I guess to the leading bunch here, and we'll give a chit-chat to all the drivers that come home and close out the W's this afternoon. And we'll start it off with Giovanni Romano, the Canadian, coming home number one this afternoon. And, well, Gio, kind of talk us through the last few laps there. Obviously, had the win given back to you as you come together with Clank coming out of the final quarter.
Yeah, first of all, Clank did a fantastic job putting us in that position to fight it out all on our own. He pushed me away from the rest of the pack, basically. So some really good teamwork, and kudos to him for that. And then, yeah, it was always going to come down to the last corner, really, because we weren't going to separate from each other. And I watched the replay. I think he hooked more right than I was tracking out. I got a little loose because it gets a little loose if you try to flat foot the last little kink there. If you're pinched down on the inside, so I slid up a bit, but I think he felt like, well, clearly he felt he was responsible for it. I wouldn't have blamed him if he just went for it, but I appreciate him, doing the sportsmanlike thing, and he felt like he was responsible for it, and yeah, so it sucks it ended that way. I was hoping for a drag race. I think it would have been a drag race. I think we kind of neck coated a bit too and clipped into each other and kind of spoiled it, but yeah, it was a fun race though.
Talk us through the strategy game this afternoon, because obviously you came down in the lead and you left a good bit behind Clank, who had short stopped you by about 3 seconds, but he was quick to drop back to you.
Yeah, that was partially because he was following me, so he definitely saved a little bit of fuel being my draft, and partially because I unchecked the fuel too late, because this card rounds up the amount of, you can only select fuel in values of gallons. So if you need more than 1 gallon, it gives you 2, so you have to manually uncheck, and I didn't have my cursor over the checkbox, so I ended up taking extra half gallon, but it didn't end up mattering, and yeah.
Overall, a solid win for you today. Do you reckon you'll be following it up again with another one for race number 6?
It's a Bathurst. Is that the broadcast run, or is that round 7? I can't remember.
Oh, I am not 100% certain.
Well, regardless, I'm sure it'll be a good time. The draft battles in this are epic, man. It's crazy.
No
I don't know
kidding.
how it produces so much draft, but it does, and it's very fun. So I'm sure it'll be a good time regardless.
It is Mount Panorama next week.
Yes. Yep.
Oh goodness, that's yeah. certainly going to have more drafting then. I wonder if we will go lose speed going up the hill. I don't know if we have enough power to climb the hill. I'm sure we'll make it, but it'll be. I mean, that's an epic track, so I'm sure it'll be a good race.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Congratulations on taking home number 1 this afternoon. We'll see you next week in Australia.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Giovanni Romano comes home number 1 this afternoon. We'll move on down to Aaron Thacker, the driver that comes home number 3 this afternoon. He is standing by with Acinni.
Aaron, fantastic job, P3. I think it was a bit of an unconventional one based on what we were seeing over the course of the race and how it developed. Did you expect to be in third, or did you expect to be closer with both Alexander Buehler and Alex Hammonds towards the end?
Well, I somehow managed to squeak one of these out at least once a season, and no, this was an interesting one. You know, Gio and Clink and myself, we were running up there in the front, just kind of drafting and hang out and doing a whole lot of fuel saving. I don't know if you guys could see on telemetry, but I mean, I think we were all running about 75% throttle on this one, trying to conserve fuel. But then that code 69 came, and it was kind of all for naught. But as Gio said in his interview, man, this is quite a drafting game in this, and it was a big showcase of that with this track layout.
Absolutely, a fantastic time. Loving the draft battles in general for these cars. It's really It impacts the aerodynamics, having the draft, being able to get a lot more speed down straights for both, qualifying every part of this, car, how it's used. I feel like it really benefits from having a draft. But the plan, I think what it saw, and you can tell me that if I'm wrong, was the plan there with Alex Hammonds to just, draft pack it to the end, get back up to Giovanni and Alex Clank after the code 69 and see if you could put some, pressure on them?
Well, that's kind of what the plan fell into. It was me, Gio, and Clank, and Austin Tucker, kind of in a little quad group there. We were running together, but then Tucker spun out about halfway through the race, and then I just completely lost touch with Gio and Clank, and then Hammonds had really good pace, caught up to me, and we just couldn't really put it together to catch up to them. So that's when both of us just kind of ran the fuel save game. But yeah, the drafting on this is wild. I think you saw more people fuel saving in the draft in the feature than you did in the sprint race, where you saw people just leapfrogging left and right, and that really showcased what this draft does in this car.
We've seen it, and it's just been consistently proven in the long stretches, which I think we'll see a few long stretches next week at Mount Panorama for the pick there. Are you excited to go back to the mountain?
I love that track so much, but with this car, this sounds absolutely terrifying because this car has a suspension that I'm pretty sure is bound on slinkies. This is going to be extremely challenging for this car, but we're all gonna hop behind the wheel and give it a shot, and you guys will be inside the booth witnessing what is to come. And boy, it's gonna be interesting to watch. It's probably really difficult to call, but that's not my job. It's my job to try and drive it.
That is very fair. Anybody else would like to shout out, as we thank you for having a fantastic race, getting back up here on the podium?
Yeah, man, like I said, as always, thanks to you guys. You guys put on a great broadcast, great show. We appreciate the brand new graphics this season that look so good. And shout out to my brothers in the Cryptid Awareness Project. Again, me and Hammonds taking a strong effort, bring home a team points haul in the absence of some of our other teammates. But good drive tonight, and look forward to next week.
Awesome. Well, that has been Aaron Thacker. Congrats again on the podium, and we will see you next week for Mount Panorama.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. So.
Well, Finn, another great race this afternoon, and another absolutely wild event indeed. Of course, Mount Panorama coming up next week. Last time we saw was all the way back in Season 5, Round 2, with the Ford Mustang half-hour 500Ss, and we saw some of the biggest crashes to date that we've ever seen while calling beer league races. I think one of the most notable ones, Max Verstappen barrel rolling about 11 times in the dash down into the chase. It was it was something, to put it mildly. I think it was about 8, 9 cars flipped in that race. It was some obscene number like that. But, you know, we exit a huge race this afternoon. And, of course, I think it cannot be stated enough. A massive round of applause to Alexander Klenk with the sportsmanship he showed there coming out of the final corner. But
Absolutely.
next week, it's Australia. Anything can happen at Bathurst.
I could not agree more. Anything can happen. That mountain is so unforgiving, even when you have cars that are kind to you. And then these cars don't look like they're going to handle suspension play very well. Like Aaron Thacker said on his interview, with the suspensions that are like slinkies. I think it'll be a really big test of driver skill over kind of the draft battles that we saw here at Sebring. So I think we'll probably see, I don't know, I'm not going to say that we'll have crashes that will rival that. I'm really hoping we don't. I'm guessing there is the possibility for crashes that may rival the FR500S Mustangs we saw last time we were here. Because these cars are both lighter and more likely to roll, I feel like, than the Ford Mustang is.
You know what? I cannot imagine why you would ever think that we could get incidents that might just rival that one. But
I mean, the car, we saw 2 flip on one of the flattest tracks in iRacing, so
yep. Well, before we get to racing in Australia, still plenty of action coming up on Green Flag TV. Coming on up next, tomorrow night, it's another doubleheader with the Average Joe Sim Racing League having the first race ever of their league. Derek Watson will bring you all of the action then on Thursday night. And just after that, it's the Speed Cup Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway for race number 15, third round of the chase. The SRA NASCAR Classic Series has opted to delay their proceedings until next week. That is, of course, all due to Memorial Day. Same story for the Classic IndyCar Series and the SRL. So, well, and in fact, HTRL. So the next time we're back on Green Flag TV, well, he'll be back for more with the PSR Sim Game Expo Truck Series and the Beer League here on this fantastic Wednesday night after the Thursday night doubleheader. In the meantime, if you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. My name is Nolan Rempel alongside Ben Acinni. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you all when we go racing next week in beautiful Mount Panorama.